Hello sports fans, welcome to Super Sports Central. Today, we're going to be going over my Week 2 UFL power rankings. So briefly recapping what happened in Week 1, the Battlehawks blew out the Roughnecks 31-6, the Renegades, they destroyed the Brahmas 33-9, the Panthers beat the Showboats 26-12, and the Defenders upset the Stallions 18-11. Getting into my rankings at number 8, we've got the Roughnecks. The Roughnecks, they're at number 8 after a brutal 31-6 loss to the Battlehawks in the UFL season opener. The Roughnecks, they were not good and easily looked like the worst team in the league. Their offense really struggled with just 6 points and 170 total yards, and quarterback Anthony Brown was not good, completing just 5 of his 11 passes for 21 yards and 2 interceptions before he was benched in the third quarter for Nolan Henderson. And Nolan Henderson was actually pretty solid when he was in at quarterback, as the offense started to move the football a little bit, and Henderson finished the game with 68 passing yards and a touchdown, as well as 54 rushing yards on just 4 carries. And I definitely think Nolan Henderson needs to be the Roughnecks quarterback moving forward. The offense looked decent with him in, as opposed to completely dysfunctional with Anthony Brown. Then defensively for the Roughnecks, they were also pretty bad. They allowed 31 points and 460 yards of offense, and they could not stop the run, allowing 273 rushing yards. But a bad performance for the Roughnecks. Coach C.J. Johnson continues to have no idea what he's doing, and the Roughnecks are easily the worst team in the UFL, and I've got them at number 8 in my power rankings. Coming in at number 7, we've got the Showboats. So the Showboats enter at number 7 after their 26-12 loss to the Panthers. And the Showboats, they were decent in this game and kept this game close for a while. And even once they went down 20-6, they started to come back as they very quickly cut the lead to 20-12, and then they were driving with a chance to tie the game, but then they threw a game-sealing pick 6. But the Showboats, they played both their quarterbacks, E.J. Perry and Troy Williams, but I don't really like how they used their quarterbacks, as Troy Williams was pretty solid in the first half, but they were also playing E.J. Perry, and then Perry led them on a touchdown drive to cut the lead to 8 points, just for them to put in Troy Williams and have him throw a game-sealing pick 6. But Troy Williams finished the game with 104 passing yards and an interception, and E.J. Perry finished the game with 93 passing yards, a touchdown, and a pick. But the Showboats, they need to figure out the quarterback position, because the way they used him this week really didn't work. Outside of the quarterback spot, the run game wasn't great, which is 69 rushing yards and 2.6 yards per carry, although receiver Jonathan Adams had a great game, with 6 catches for 93 yards and a touchdown. Then defensively for the Showboats, they were pretty good despite allowing 26 points. They held the Panthers to under 300 yards and under 5 yards per play, and the Showboats, despite the loss, showed some potential, and head coach Ken Wisenhunt, who missed this week's game due to personal reasons, is set to return next week. But I've got the Showboats at number 7. Number 6, I've got the Brahmas. So the Brahmas enter at number 6 after a very disappointing 33-9 loss to the Renegades. The Brahmas offense was not good, which is 9 points, and quarterback Kellen Mond wasn't great in his UFL debut. He completed 17 of his 31 passes for 159 yards, no touchdowns or interceptions. Now Mond definitely wasn't great, as he's still learning the offense, but he also wasn't terrible, and I definitely think he'll improve over time. The Brahmas, they did run the ball very effectively, rushing for 105 yards and a touchdown, while averaging 5.2 yards per carry. Although the Brahmas, they had to abandon the run pretty early in this game because they were trailing by so much. And then defensively for the Brahmas was very disappointing. I thought this would be a great Brahmas defense. Instead, they got off to a terrible start this season, as they allowed 33 points, nearly 350 yards of offense, and could not stop the run, allowing 183 rushing yards and 4 rushing touchdowns. But the Brahmas did not get off to the start they hoped for this season, and they enter at number 6 in my power rankings. Coming in at number 5, I've got the Stallions. So the Stallions, they fall to number 5 after their 18-11 loss to the Defenders, and this might be a little harsh dropping them to number 5, but they did not play very well. The offense was not good at scoring just 11 points, and quarterback Alex Magoo really struggled, as he went just 10 of 23 for 89 yards, a touchdown, and a pick, and he also added 84 rushing yards. Now, I'm not ready to give up on Magoo just yet, because this was his first game at quarterback in a couple years, because when he was with the Packers, they converted him to a receiver. But Magoo, he's also a former league MVP in the USFL in 2023, and I really don't think you can pin this entire loss on the quarterback, because the Stallions' offensive line was awful, and I really don't think it mattered who was at quarterback this week, as the Stallions' offensive line allowed 8 sacks. Now, I can definitely understand wanting a quarterback switch for the Stallions, because even when Alex Magoo had some time, he wasn't great with his mechanics and accuracy. But you might want to give him another week. And Magoo is also a much better runner than Matt Corral, and with how bad the offensive line is, he might give you your best chance to win. Then on the defensive side of the ball, the Stallions, they were pretty good as they allowed 18 points, and they held a great defender's run game to just 86 yards and 3 yards per carry. But the Stallions, they did not play well in their season opener, and they have a lot of talent, but a lot of things to fix after week 1, and I've got the Stallions at number 5. Number 4, I've got the Defenders. So the Defenders enter at number 4 after they upset the Stallions, winning by a score of 18-11. The Defenders, they played pretty well offensively, and quarterback Jordan Tayamu had a nice game, with 211 passing yards, a touchdown, and an interception. The Defenders, they were okay on the ground, but definitely didn't have their best game. But where the Defenders really won this game was on the defensive side of the ball, as they dominated. They allowed just 11 points and 138 yards of offense, racking up 8 sacks. But the Defenders, they played a good game, they upset the Stallions, and I've got the Defenders at number 4. Coming in at number 3, I've got the Panthers. So the Panthers, they enter at number 3 after their 26-12 win over the Showboats. And the Panthers, they're another team to play multiple quarterbacks this week, as Bryce Perkins and Danny Etling both saw playing time, although the Panthers have definitely found their starting quarterback, and that's Bryce Perkins. He had a great game with 163 passing yards and a touchdown, with also 14 rushing yards and an unreal rushing score. The Panthers, they ran the ball pretty effectively, rushing for 95 yards and a touchdown, and the defense, they were also great, as they allowed just 12 points, got 3 sacks, and forced a couple of turnovers, including a game-sealing pick 6 from Kai Nakua. But the Panthers, they had a good game, they looked really good, they found their answer at quarterback in Bryce Perkins, who might be the most dynamic quarterback in the UFL, and I've got the Panthers at number 3, although I can definitely understand the argument to potentially have them higher. Number 2, I've got the Renegades. So the Renegades enter my rankings at number 2 after they destroyed the Brahmas 33-9. The Renegades' offense was great. Quarterback Luis Perez had a nice game with 164 yards and an interception, but on the ground was where the Renegades really dominated. Running back Kalen Balaj had 9 carries for 110 yards and a 77-yard touchdown run, which is the longest run in UFL history. And their other running back, Devion Smith, was also good, as he had 3 touchdowns on just 3 carries. The Renegades as a team, they ended up running the ball for 183 yards and 4 scores on 5.9 yards per carry. And then defensively, the Renegades, they looked much better from a season ago. Their defense dominated this game. They allowed just 9 points and didn't allow a touchdown until garbage time. But the Renegades, they looked really good offensively, really good defensively, and they got off to a great start this season, and I've got them at number 2. And coming in at number 1, we've got the Battlehawks. The Battlehawks, they're number 1 after they destroyed the Roughnecks by a score of 31-6. Now, I can definitely understand having the Battlehawks a little bit lower because they did beat the Roughnecks and they were awful, but this was a really impressive win for the Battlehawks. They were going to play both quarterbacks Manny Wilkins and Max Duggan, and Duggan did see a few snaps in garbage time, but Manny Wilkins was very, very good. Wilkins finished the game with 189 passing yards and also had 43 rushing yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. Now, there is a few areas where Manny Wilkins can improve, but he overall played a very good game. The Battlehawks, they had a great game on the ground, as running back Jarvion Howard ran for 115 yards and a touchdown, and Jacob Sailors ran for 98 yards and another touchdown. And the Battlehawks as a team, they ran for 273 yards and 4 scores on 6.7 yards per carry. Then on the defensive side of the ball, the Battlehawks were also great. They didn't allow a point until the game was already over, and they also forced 2 turnovers. But a great performance for the Battlehawks in the season opener, and I've got them at number 1 in my power rankings. But those are my Week 2 UFL power rankings. Thank you guys for watching. Be sure to like this video, subscribe, turn notifications. I do my best to put as often as possible, and I will see you in the next video.